She and Peter would wed on October 3rd, 1739, when she was 19 years of age, Peter 31. Isham Randolph was wealthy, worldly, and highly educated. He had attended the College of William and Mary, took French lessons for a few weeks from learned surveyor and diarist William Byrd, and spent many years as a merchant captain in London. In that city, in 1718, he married Jane Lilburne, and shortly thereafter, the first of their many children, a daughter they named after her mother, was born. She was baptized on February 20th, 1719, at St. Paul's, Shadwell. By the early 1730s, she and her parents and siblings had moved to Virginia, where Isham established Dungeness, a smaller version of the great English manor houses. Owing to his time in London, Isham had an international network of acquaintances, and as the result of his friendship with the naturalist Peter Collinson, leading American botanist John Bartram visited Isham at Dungeness. All this goes to show how Jane had broader cultural and intellectual horizons than most of her contemporaries in colonial Virginia, and she saw in Peter Jefferson far more than a rough-hewn frontiersman. Following his original purchase of 1,000 acres on the south side of the Rivanna in 1735, the very next year Peter acquired 200 acres across the river from William Randolph for, as the family enjoyed retelling, the price of Henry Weatherburne's biggest bowl of arrack punch, a transaction presumably initiated in a tavern. Peter may have begun clearing fields and even erected a small temporary dwelling within a year or two. Jefferson recorded in his autobiography that his father was the third or fourth settler of the part of the country in which I live, which was about 1737. Shortly before or after his marriage to Jane, Peter moved to his Rivanna property, naming the home site Shadwell in honor of his wife's baptismal location. Their first 4 children were born there: Jane in 1740, Mary in 1741, Thomas in 1743, and Elizabeth in 1744. The next year, Goochland County was subdivided and Albemarle County came into existence. On February 28, 1745, a small group of the new county citizens met near the present-day town of Scottsville and inaugurated the county government. Among them was Peter Jefferson. Meanwhile, he was purchasing more land, enlarging his fields, buying slaves, expanding his home and outbuildings at Shadwell, and fulfilling a range of civic responsibilities. Of all this, his son Thomas remembered nothing. William Randolph had married early, but in 1742 his wife died, leaving him with 3 small daughters and an infant son. Newly alert to the precariousness of life, William soon drew up a will naming Peter one of the executors. Several years later, in failing health, Randolph added a codicil requesting that "my dear and loving friend Mr. Peter Jefferson do move down with his family to my Tuckahoe house and remain there till my son comes of age, with whom my dear son and his sisters shall live." Randolph died suddenly in late 1745, and, perhaps surprisingly, early in 1746, Peter and Jane, with their then 5 small children, moved the approximately 50 miles to Tuckahoe and assumed responsibility for the 4 orphaned Randolph children. This journey, which took the family several days, Jefferson did recall. His first memory was of being carried on a pillow by a slave on horseback. Perhaps we can explain the move easily. Peter no doubt felt honor-bound to his friend, and William had been a first cousin of Jane's. Tuckahoe was a commodious house, the families could to a degree be segregated, and the Randolph slaves could oversee the Randolph children at night. Jane may well have felt more comfortable on the estate than in her smaller residence at Shadwell. While they dwelled at Tuckahoe, she gave birth to 4 more children. Peter, with the help of 7 overseers, managed the Tuckahoe plantation, and as an absentee owner, with a local overseer or 2, he kept his personal slaves on the Rivanna, clearing fields, growing crops, and improving his properties. Peter and Jane received no remuneration for their duties to the Randolph children, but the Tuckahoe estate paid all their living expenses.